Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever applies to you. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Julia. I'm a contemporary singing specialist based in Australia, and today I have a special guest with me. I have Chase. Welcome, Chase, to the channel.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's going to be great. So if you aren't aware of Chase, go and check out his channel. He does some fantastic music breakdowns, and that is sort of what we're doing here today. We're going to be collabing. We've got some music breakdowns for you. We've got some singing breakdowns coming. And I mean, Chase, did you want to tell them what song we're reacting to today?
I sure do. It's been a long time coming. I think we kind of connected through the Nightwish army, and I think it's only right that we do one of their songs. And luckily, there are a couple songs that we both haven't heard yet. So we are going to be taking a look at Week Fantasy, a live edition, I believe.
Yes, let's dive into this react. I'm going to be in charge of the pausing for this one. So, I mean, we'll just have to do our best there when it comes to
I think people will be
commenting.
very happy to know that the pause button is in your hands and you're going to be in control of that one.
Alrighty. Well, we are going to get started, guys. Let's dive into Nightwish Week Fantasy.
A storytelling breed we are. These stories given to us are filled with suffering, slavery, and the selfhood of a condescending ape. Every child is worth a better tale.
Here she is.
Stories given to us all are filled with sacrifice and ropes of lust, dissonant choirs and downcast eyes, selfhood of a condescending ape. Behold the crown of a heavenly spire, forged in blood of those who defy. Kiss the ring, praise and sing. He loves your dwelling in fear and sin. Fear is a choice you embrace. Your only truth. Tribal poetry. Witchcraft filling your void. Lost from fantasy. Meritocracy. Every child worthy of a better tale. Pure author from my
Alrighty, I'm just going to pause it there. Obviously, I'll take it back like I usually do. I'm just going to pause it there because I feel like we got a little bit to unpack there, don't we, Chase?
I think we do. This is a pretty intense and magical start to this one.
Absolutely. It got me the moment they brought in the drummer. That was, the energy
he's
just
phenomenal.
hit straight from the front. That was awesome.
Yeah, he's an amazing drummer. He's got some of the tightest kick work I think I've ever heard, and he's just really, really special. I love that call and answer kind of bit in the beginning where it was Marco and Thomas on kind of matching those keys and then him answering with the drums. They're kind of masters of building songs and placing melodies at a place where you just thought there was no more room for it, but they somehow found a way.
It's always interesting when you're listening to instrumentalists that are also just genuinely good instrumentalists because they'll do things you don't expect. And then they do it so well to such a high standard as well.
Yeah, there's something really interesting there where they kind of started out. They do this a lot actually, where they introduce an instrumental idea which becomes actually a bigger part of the song, whether it be a chorus piece or a verse piece. And the pattern of what the drummer's doing with his feet and what the guitarists are doing with their strumming pattern, the guitar and the bass, of course, is actually very similar. They're just being selective about which notes they hit, and you can hear like a gallop change towards the end there. And it's remarkable. It's just like you said, it's some of the top musicians just doing what they do. Some of it's simple, some of it's intricate, but it all just works.
Absolutely. So vocally, this is where my time to shine. So vocally, Flora is using a lot more constriction than what I'm perhaps used to from her. I've got to be completely honest. There's a lot of external tension that she's using, but it's for a purpose. It's not just there because that's her sound. It's enabling her to tell a story, and it's aiding in her articulation as she's actually singing along. So certain words have more constriction on them than others, which tells me that it's a very deliberate thing that she's doing. And as we can hear when she hits that chorus, her sound just really opens back up. We're back to that really beautiful belt that Floor has, where it's full and rich and resonant, but it doesn't sound like she's screeching her head off. And I find that sound is bouncing really well over Marco, because he also has quite a bit of resonance in his belt. And you'll notice that even though Floor is using vibrato, the moment she's singing over Marco, their sounds actually work together really well. It's not sounding like it's in conflict with one another.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear you talk about the vocals, which is something obviously I have little to no experience in. So to hear you talk about, I mean, I've always been shocked at how well their voices work together. It was super unexpected for me early on in the Nightwish journey, and to hear you give some actual technical reasons as to why is it's really amazing. I do like when they pull the music back like they do in the verse there. They kind of take the intensity away, and that allows those vocals to shine through a little bit more clear, especially during a live performance where things like wind and external factors can play a big role. It's just so nice to hear an example of why that works.
When you are singing in a duet, it is easier with a male and a female singer, because male vocal harmonics are naturally going to be slightly lower than female vocal harmonics. So sometimes you're not going to get that clash purely just because it's a male and a female singing. But at the same time, when you're introducing vibrato into a sound, it can be quite easy for vibrato to sort of dominate what's happening. And yet when they're singing together, it is beautifully balanced. And I can hear Marco really cleanly under Floor, and it just builds upon itself as opposed to sounding like noise, which is sometimes what happens if you have too many voices that are doing different things at the same time. I know they're singing the same words and they've got an awesome harmony. I'll take it back. This one. Right there, that harmony that they have, it wouldn't have the sort of energy impact that it has if they weren't well balanced over one another. So the fact that you do get that impact, it's a very simple harmony. It's nothing that's too complicated, but you get sort of the full force of it as opposed to sort of just harmony that's a bit of a mess. So that's always nice. I like it when harmonies work together when they're functional.
Yeah, that's ideal. I think I did want to ask, when she, like I said, when that music pulls back and you pretty much just got, I think Troy's playing a bouzouki. I once said an acoustic guitar and I got in a lot of trouble with the fans for that, so I do correct myself there. But
Okay.
When it pulls back and you can hear her come in with that vocal, you mentioned it be a little bit more, I think you said restricted, or, does that do any damage to the vocals, or is that something that's quite easy for her to do?
So when it comes to constriction, you often hear about sort of internal constriction. So that's basically your pharynx, which is sort of the squeezy tube that the sound resonates in. That has actually got like different sphincters in it that can tighten and relax. And when she's adding in constriction, part of it's going to be internal, of the muscles in the throat or the windpipe, or whatever is easiest to think of it. Those muscles are squeezing in different places to give you different sound and different timbral qualities. So there'll be a tiny bit that's coming from external tension, but I would say that she's actually just playing with a lot of the internal constrictors within her throat to achieve that sound. When it comes to vocal effects or techniques where you do get distortion or constriction or any of these, to me, it's not really an issue, particularly if the singer can demonstrate that she can switch them off. That tells me that it's a choice as opposed to a habit, because habits can compound. It means you can't switch them off. You're always using them. But for Floor, she uses all of these different artistic, stylistic decisions, and she uses them when she wants to because she's capable of switching them off. And the basis of her technique is really, really healthy. It's super, super stable because that's what she reverts to. Honestly, when she uses like vocal effects like distortion and constriction, I've heard that she can also do some growling. I'm not worried about her as a vocalist when it comes to vocal health because so much of her technique is really, really healthy.
That's amazing. It's good to know. It's good to know that it's more of a choice and it's something that she can do for a lot longer time.
Yeah,
and not kind
absolutely.
of shorten her career as a singer.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a valid concern. A lot of people, when they make these sounds, they go, "Oh, that sounds like it maybe isn't as free." And there is one side of vocal pedagogy that are just like, every noise has to be free, otherwise it's not good singing. It's like, yeah, but stylistically and contemporary, this sounds more badass. So making stylistic choices and longevity of sound, that's a balancing act that every singer has to work through. And so long as there's a foundation that is really, really healthy, so healthy vocal production, and they can choose these effects at will, switch them on, switch them off, it gives them the option so that when they're in situations like tours, if they go, you know what, I worked really, really hard last night, my voice isn't like, it's not at its A game right now, but I still want to like do my best for this gig, they can choose when it is they're going to use it because they go, you know what, for tonight, this gig is a little bit, it's a little bit much for me to use this effect to as frequently as I might usually. And so because they have that power of not having to use it if they don't want to, they can pick and choose when it's going to work for them. So it gives you options to look after yourself for sure.
And I think it helps having Marco as that strong, I don't even want to say backup singer because he's a front man in his own right, but having him there as a support on some of those melodies must actually give her a bit of confidence to know that if she does need to tone it down, he's right there to kind of place it as well.
Absolutely. And just the band all on its own, there's so much energy that's created in those arrangements and through the musicians themselves. Like I see a lot of band communication happening, whether it's verbal or physical, to the point that when you're watching them, there's an energy with themselves just playing together on that stage. So when she's singing, even if she did have to pull back, everything else is going to work underneath it so that you're not losing too much. She still has to work hard because as a singer, all eyes are on you generally. You are going to be the focal point the moment you walk out on stage. Sure, the band members will also get like a look at, but when you're singing, it just naturally, people are going to stare at you perhaps a little more frequently. So you still have to do your best, but she does have those fabulous musicians behind her to keep that energy up there for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, let's pause it there. But what's just happened there in that breakdown musically, do you think?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because I kind of feel like I'm saying it on a lot of their songs. They really are masters of contrast. And the reason that they drop in energy like that is because when you got hit with the build-up and the band kicked in with its full kind of essence, the full EQ, if you will, there's an intensity and an impact with that. And the only way you can get that back is if you take the listener on a bit of a journey. So if you drop the energy like they're doing right now, they certainly aren't dropping the phrasing of how they're playing and they aren't dropping the speed, but they've dropped the impacts of things like the distortions pulled out. And actually, I'm seeing Marco now play on that multi-neck. So he's actually playing the guitar neck at the bottom along with Troy, and they're doing a lot of lead work versus these kind of full distorted chords. And you'll hear that Empu's actually removed from that equation at the moment. And I have no doubt he'll come in either quite sharply or, you know, with possibly a small build-up. But it's just the magic of they understand. It's almost like they understand exactly how the listener feels without them even knowing it. So to pull back that energy, so when they're kicking again, you have this same feeling you had in the beginning of the song.
Yeah, that's awesome to know, because you keep an eye on things that I sort of listen and I feel it, and then I just focus on the vocals again. So I'll comment sometimes on the arrangement, but I'm primarily going to be listening to the vocal decisions that are being made. But yeah, for sure, in their arrangements, I like the fact that they do play with space and intensity, and it means that even when they start a song like this that is really, really, it's fairly intense. Like, they started off with the drums and all like, it's a full sound that they're starting with. Because they start so full, I think it's great that they include these kinds of musical changes so that, you know, by the end of it, you're still invigorated and you still have energy for the song, as opposed to it being really, really heavy all the way through. And it's like, yeah, okay, we get it. But in this one, they really play with it.
Yeah, exactly. Even a Nightwish, you know, no matter how great those pieces are, if they keep doing the same thing, just like you said, it becomes a bit samey. And for anyone who isn't, you don't even necessarily need to be a musician. The song starts to feel quite long. And their songs generally are a bit longer than what you'd hear on radio, you know, that 3.5 minute mark, which is kind of your traditional length. A lot of their songs are longer, but they don't feel that way because they take you on a bit of a user journey with listening. And I think Thomas's his musical IQ is really high in terms of composition and writing songs that feel shorter than they are.
Oh, God, yeah. I remember listening to The Greatest Show on Earth, and it's like 22 minutes long, and it didn't feel like 20 minutes at all. I couldn't believe it. It surprised me when it was over.
Yeah, it's a magical song that one I'll never forget doing.
Cool. Alrighty, let's take it back slightly so we can get back into that bridge and then just keep going. Sorry, I gotta pause it. I gotta make a comment on that. Oh, goodness. And we're gonna listen to it again because I'm in charge of the clicker. I can go back.
Feels good to kind of just listen and know that's in your hands.
Just want to hear Marco's sound again. Okay, so there. He could have used his larynx to absolutely kick the ever-living poop out of that note. He could have if he wanted to. And instead, the intensity is building in the front of his face, his resonance in his teeth and going through his nose. If we go back and listen to that again, you'll hear how instead of his larynx hiking up and sounding like he's absolutely squeezing the life out of it, instead it opens up and it becomes brighter. So just quickly, you can hear how even though Flora is singing in that moment, Marco is the primary sound in what's happening there on stage. And I think that his little opener with a really, really bright, twangy forward sound, a little bit of distortion in there, led into that section beautifully. It wasn't like this insanely uncomfortable change of vocalists. It really, really led itself really well into him sort of being the focal point as far as vocals go. How was the music?
Loving it, and just loving listening to you explain all of this, because I'm here, just like you said with the vocals, I'm hearing it, but I don't quite know what I'm hearing or why I'm hearing it. So it makes a whole lot of sense. The nice thing they're doing here is it's they've stripped out like kind of the syncopation of what they were doing. So everything is on the counts. Everything is very it's very like rhythmic in terms of, it's almost puts you in a trance because it's so predictable, the kind of pattern they're playing. And it's a little very different to what they were doing in the beginning, where they were filling up kind of on the and or just off the counts. But now it's kind of everyone's working together, pushing the song in like one direction, if you will, instead of trying to have different moments to shine. And you do see this with them. They tend to have these like extended bridges or almost double bridges in some instances. I'm almost fearful to comment on the composition, because every time I say something, it's like Thomas knows I'm saying it and he goes, well, I'm just going to change that up for you real quick. So but it's the simplicity of what they're doing here is really nice. I like it.
I do think it's important to note for people who go, simple, it's not simple. Just because something isn't overly complicated doesn't mean that it's inferior. In fact, some of the most simple ideas that are executed really, really well lead themselves into things that sound absolutely magical. So them using a simple rhythm that's repetitive in this section, like having listened to Nightwish, I know that it's going to build and it's going to reach its peak. And if we hadn't had that sort of stripped back, more of a simple section here, the impact of where it's going wouldn't be like as massive as what I'm sure is going to happen, because having listened to Nightwish, there's always a moment where it's pulled back and then it just like takes you to another peak again once you've like gotten through that section.
Yeah, it just kind of hits you in the chest again. You're 100% right. Simple does not mean easy.
Oh,
it's just a break for your listening. Like completely agree.
Yeah, that is arrangement. That is really good arranging there. That's not a jab at any arranging skill. That is good arrangement ideas there to pull it back so that you can really take the listeners to like the next peak in your music. That's really good stuff. We're gonna keep going because we're so close. Oh, also, Marco's voice, super, super bright and resonant. I really am gonna have to check out some of his solo work, because I feel when he's singing with Floor, he does do a lot of those more of a belty sound. I want to hear Marco pulled back slightly, because I know he can do a nice, lovely, clean belt now. I want to hear him pulled back. So we're going to keep going from here, but I want to hear more of Marco. I'll get there, I promise. So you know that build we mentioned would be coming? What happened, Chase? What just happened there out of that super simple idea?
Everything just happened. Everything happened.
Yes. Oh God, that build was amazing.
That musical build into that is almost too much. I'm kind of freaking out here. It's the visual presence that they have is something in its own right. And I'm not just talking about the fireworks and stuff. I mean, Floor's presence on stage, the way she commands respect and kind of moves around, Marco with the same. The relationship the members have going up to each other, that was magical. This was awesome.
And also even the choice of the visuals, the actual visuals on the screens behind them. When Floor was saying, "Child, I'll tell you a story," I think that was the lyric. I got shivers up my spine, because it's almost like, even though story is meant to be a good thing, right? This is almost like, I'm going to tell you a story and you're like, oh God, this is going to like change my entire perspective on life. Do I really want to hear this story? Like that's the gut reaction that I had when she sang that line, because I mean, just the music that was happening behind it. Can we go back? Do you mind if we go back and
Please
just
do.
revisit
Please
that
do.
build again? Because simple little break.
Yeah.
That was just giving you time for your mind to then be able to handle what was about to happen. Gosh, where was it? And her facial
I'm still
expressions.
trying to process it.
Her facial expressions. Jesus. Such a good storyteller, physically, expression wise, her choice of articulators, and then her decisions on her vocal effects and sort of stylistic things that she puts into her voice are just, they're spot on. She's so clever. Her artistic choices to do with her voice are just absolutely spot on when it comes to telling these stories. And it matches everything that's going on stage.
Wake up, child. I have a story to tell. Once upon a time, your only child.
God, yeah, that section just
Yeah, it takes you on a journey, right? I try and pride myself on someone when we do these reactions. I try really hard to kind of be analytical about it and to be focused on the intricacies of the music. But there are very, very long periods with this band that I just lose all track of that, and you start just feeling and reacting to something, and all the technicality goes right out the window, and I have to kind of remember what I'm doing. They command you to feel something.
absolutely. And there are so many times where I've gone to pause and something new or different will crop up and I go, change of plans. I want to keep listening. And I just don't want to stop it because wherever they're taking the music is either really exciting or new or different. And God, I really appreciate that. This is basically turning into a Nightwish appreciation collab. Like
Nothing wrong with that. I think that it's long overdue, and I kind of knew this was going to happen because I've obviously watched a bunch of your reactions that you've done to songs that I've done, and I'm like, I know, right? I know. I can just see like everything you're saying. I'm going, that's exactly how I felt. So
Cool. Alrighty. So we've agreed Nightwish is amazing. Yes, arrangements awesome. Orchestral stuff is insane from him. Incredible storytelling ability. Let's be super technical. Was there anything you wanted me to go back and look over so that you can comment on it further?
no, I think you going back and kind of playing that build-up piece again just emphasizes the contrast and the light and shade. Thomas has been very busy on the keys. There is a key section that's floating and drifting in the background, but there's a lot of the call and answer stuff in those bridges that he's doing where he's much more active on the keys. And I think he plays the keys in a way that they don't sound like traditional keys in a symphonic metal band that I recognize. They're much more, there's a lot more personality and charm to it, almost like mischievousness in what he's doing. It's really cool. I'm just sold.
So I'll take one of him, please.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, no, absolutely. And on a vocal front, I've already commented quite heavily on Floor's technical ability and my other breakdowns. So if you did want to know a little bit more about the types of vocal decisions that she makes, go back and watch those reacts because there's probably going to be a little bit more information in those reacts compared to this one, just because in this one I'll either pop it up as a caption or I will have already talked about it with Chase in some capacity. But for me, the standout was her ability to switch her constriction on and off, because it's so important for your vocal health and just general maintenance. But on top of that, it sounds so cool. Like the impact of using that vocal constriction in that storytelling in the beginning, it just completely sets the mood. Do you think this was their opening song?
I tell you what, I've been wrong before. It could have been. It's got enough power. You know, it's one of those, the way that it started, it could have been an opener to the show, but the way it ended, it could have been one that closed it. It's just one of those, songs that it's just got a lot of power and intensity. And I'm not quite sure of the length, but I think we touched on it I think it's over 5 minutes, this one. It just doesn't feel like that. And it's got an enormous...
like 6-ish minutes.
Yeah, it's got an enormous amount of energy. I'm obsessed with what Kai's doing on the drums here, and he is, I don't know if you've ever done a reaction to Winter Sun where he just goes off completely, but
No.
he is one of the most
I've only done the
remarkable
big
drummers.
three.
Yeah, he's in this,
Yeah.
he's got like a side project band which is Winter Sun, and it's kind of more of a technical play out piece for his drumming ability, and you see all of those small nuances, the placement of his kicks in between some of the fills to create that constant roll effect. It's phenomenal. He is a human metronome.
That's exactly what you want in a drummer.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay, let's put a little confession into this. On a scale of 0 to 10, How annoying is it to work with a drummer who can't keep time?
Oh, I want to go past 10. I want to go 20.
Okay.
I want to go past that. It's the worst possible thing, because they're the backbone. And if the drummer's out, the bassist can't add power and accent some of the kick work he's doing, and the bassist is the bridge between the drums and the guitar. So if your drummer's out, everything's out.
Yep. So drummers, we love you for working real hard to keep us in time and for letting us really make the most out of our arrangement. Drummers get a lot of flack. Like when I studied at music at like uni, all of the drummer jokes, which just don't apply because at that level they're already doing pretty damn good. But there are a lot of drummer jokes. I'm like, but if you get an insane drummer, like they're worth their weight in gold. If you get a really, really good drummer.
I think that's a good point about these guys, is there is not one musician in this band who is there for any other reason than they are the right and most talented person for the band. The chemistry they've got is amazing. You saw Emprey walk over to Troy, and then Marco went and joined them. And there's these little interactions you have as a musician. You would know, but even as guitarists, where you're kind of you're no longer just playing the song, you're having fun with it, and you could see them laughing and exchanging certain things, adding little variations to what the actual melody is, just to have a bit of fun on stage. And that fun is infectious. It kind of bleeds into the rest of the music, and if they love it that much, you can't help but love it too. Absolutely.
And I think it's also testament to how much time they would have put in and how much time they've spent together, because sure, you can practice by yourself, but playing with other people, it's its own skill set. And being able to connect with them when you're playing together, to me, it just adds an extra element compared to people who've practiced just by themselves and then they try to come together. Like that group dynamic is its own skill. And it takes time. That's stuff you can't really just, unless you have like the perfect chemistry with the people you're playing with, that kind of group dynamic, I feel just genuinely takes time playing and practicing together before you get to that point.
I completely agree.
I really love watching groups that are sort of new to playing together, and then you watch them 5 years down the track, and there's a new energy that's been inserted into their music. They might have gotten better as musicians, but it's also that like sort of companion connection between them as band members as well. That gets stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where, you can walk across the stage and have a giggle and change things up because
what it is?
You're having fun with people you trust.
Well, I was just going to took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say it's about trust. It's about trust.
I got it first.
when you see bands starting out, you'll see a lot of times when there's changes in rhythmic patterns, or when it goes from a chorus to a verse, for example, there's a lot of the band members turning in and looking at the drummer and looking at each other because they need the visual cue. And when they get more comfortable, it becomes a show. Everyone on the stage, when they go over and interact, it's purely just for their own chemistry, but they are facing the crowd. They're putting on a show. They're almost catching each other and trusting that musical safety net's going to be there. Trust is the perfect word for that.
Absolutely. So, if you're in a new band, give yourself some time. That trust will build, and you'll feel the fun of playing together will just get more and more and more and more the more you trust each other as musicians. So was there anything else that you wanted to chat about, Chase? I feel like I've been running my mouth.
I did want to speak. I did want to speak about just the overall intensity of the song, because if you listen to kind of, and by no means have I listened to the breadth of their back catalog, but I'm working my way through it, and then listening to some of the newer stuff. There's such a delicate amount of care in understanding energy, and this one was very energetic. It was quite pacey. It was quite urgent. There were moments of breaking, but if you look at this song in placement with a lot of the other songs that they were writing and playing at this time, it's just so smart. I mean, I feel like you would come back from this concert emotionally and physically exhausted because of the journey they take you on, and obviously in the best possible way because of how magical it is. They put a lot of care into everything they do. From his the care that he puts into the music it does not end with the music. Everything down to the design of his key stand, her outfits, and the kind of the meaning behind them, the pyro and the fireworks, and how hard that is actually to line up with the music and make sure that is pinpointed and perfect. It's just about care and understanding, like, when the song requires energy, how else can they do that to make it a performance beyond just the music?
Absolutely. And having listened to a few of their other songs, I get the feeling that, going to a Nightwish concert must also be purely exhausting, because the songs that they use, initially someone was like, in my comment section, people comment like, oh, this was the last song of the set. Oh, this was in the middle of the set. And I just cannot imagine, with the amount of energy in the pieces that I've listened to, how much time they would spend into crafting the set just to make sure that the concert itself as a whole works well together, and that energy of like the picking up and the bringing down and just really making sure that people can remain connected the entire time. How much time that must also take, because they do have some really big numbers in this song. Big numbers in their set of what I've listened to so far. They're massive pieces of music.
I got to tell you, this is a whole lot of fun doing it like this with you and collaborating on it, because you're always kind of thinking, is it going to work? Like, I mean, you and I get on really well. We've had those calls and we have a similar approach and appreciation to music, but you never quite know how it's going to go. And I just sat here for a second thinking, do you know how much I just learned throughout the song?
Well, myself included, actually, because sometimes it is enough to learn how to sing, but also being able to listen to the music that's going on around you and understand what's happening there, it makes you a true collaborator in what's happening. So it's been great also being able to talk to you, Chase, to really be able to appreciate even more some of the amazing things that this band is doing, but also why I'm feeling certain things within the music that perhaps I can't quite explain because I'm not a full instrumentalist. I'm a vocalist, and sometimes those roles, they're going to be different between playing the instruments and being a vocalist. They're just different responsibilities within the dynamic of the group. So thank you for what you've shared as well with this one.
I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Killer song as well. Awesome song.
Oh God, absolutely. Just what was the line? Fear is a choice you embrace. The lyrical content of this song, once again, I love how the music and the lyrics feed into one another, and having the space, the like instrumental space behind that one line, perfect drop into that chorus. Like just 10 out of 10, that was awesome. And it's one line. They don't need this big elaborate pre-chorus.
Well, that's what they do. There's always a moment. They always make sure there's a moment. And there were a few actually in this one.
Awesome. Well, is that where we want to end it today?
I think so. I think we've pretty much become the biggest Nightwish fans throughout this 6 minutes. So I think we did an okay job.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining onto my channel. Guys, if you have not gone and checked out some of Chase's musical breakdowns, you need to go and do that. I will leave a link to his channel in the description box, and I'm sure he'll pop up in the comments somewhere. Maybe we'll do like a premiere. I'm not sure. Maybe.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
But
I'm keen.
Go and check out some of his musical breakdowns so you can learn even more about some of this fantastic composition but also performance elements from Nightwish, because it's not just Nightwish. You also react to other things as well.
I do. Nightwish has a steady place, but yeah.
Nightwish is, you go steady with Nightwish. Cool. Go check out his channel if you haven't. If you're new to my channel and you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you give it a like, click the subscribe button and the bell notification beside it to know when I upload a new video. As usual, I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that, Julia. It's been a wonderful experience.
Awesome.